This is day 4 of building ThoughtArchive, and today we mainly fixated on the development of the UI and also mobile app development. So every click, every scroll, every single bit of interaction was improved, from colorway to typography to all sorts of changes that we made. Today we involve tools like Lovable to help us create and manufacture how this page will actually feel and be catered towards user experience. Let's get right into the build. And to begin with, there was a section that I forgot to record, and that was the prompt that I put into Lovable. However, what I decided to go and do is I took all the pages and all the functionality. I told Cursor to explain everything about this project, had a conversation with ChatGPT to make it to turn it into a prompt that I can push into Lovable to make a lot more user experienced AI. The reason why I did this is because Cursor isn't designed to make websites, it's designed to edit code. It's not designed to make things look nice and polishable. Of course you can do that. However, same with all these AIs and all these AI chatbots, a lot of these are specified to one thing, and Lovable is specified towards making sites and landing pages and making things as appealing to the eye as possible. So it can give you a lot of design choices that you probably wouldn't have thought of yourself because you're not an expert. Because if you're using AI to make these sort of sites, a lot of the times you're not going to be an expert. So I would advise anyone who's trying to make an app and trying to find something to work and make a design app website to use Lovable to just get a nice initial draft of what the actual page should look like. However, as you can see, we ended up going through a purple and blue sort of layout. The app does start to look a lot more presentable as compared to how it looked like in the last episode. So after having Lovable completely make the site and how I initially wanted to make it look like, I had it completely print out all the design options that it went with and turn that into a prompt that I would put back into Cursor. So now what I'm doing is that I'm just flipping between different AIs and using them as whatever is specialized in to get the optimum output. So naturally, after having Lovable create the prompt for me to input back into Cursor so I can make the changes, there was a lot of errors that I went through. Today was a day that I went through errors after errors after errors after errors and a lot of debugging, even though I was only messing with the UI. It would have been a lot easier if I decided to code it. However, in this series I did say that I wasn't going to use any code or just use completely AI, and AI did start to hallucinate a little bit. And the best course of action when dealing with AI when it starts to hallucinate is to start a new chat and just start going all over again, because it's gonna take you around in circles and you don't want that to happen. Once I got through a lot of the debugging, and I ended up actually having the page on Cursor, making it look somewhat like the Lovable one, somewhat similar. They do look damn near exactly the same. There just was a few changes that Cursor decided to make. In the meantime, there was a lot of issues with it in the first place. There was an issue with the mic button not responding. There was a lot of interactive issues. When making apps and websites, you want to make it as responsive as possible so you can get a lot of user retention. When the initial website was made, it was very static, and that's not something that I like to go with when I make my websites, all my apps. So I ended up fixing that. But however, that did take quite a while, because when dealing with AI, when you fix one issue, another error comes up. However, as long as you keep digging down and keep working with the AI and massaging it, you should be able to make a nicely well made product. There was also some design issues that I had to address. For example, when it came to the previous version, so it had the design issue of one bit was for text and one bit was for recording, when in reality, to fix this, just some basic UI principles, just have the chat at the bottom and then be able to voice record by pressing the button in the middle. I also had the grouping issue that was in my previous videos where they weren't being grouped. I ended up fixing this application so that there was the hierarchical issue. Once I fixed the hierarchical issue, it's now started working like the app that I envisioned from the beginning, and all the features are done, as well as the UI that looks damn near perfect at this point, at least in my opinion. If anyone has any suggestions on how to improve it, you can let me know down below in the comments, and I will make those improvements. Remember, it's a group project at this point, isn't it? The next section that I ended up working with and improving was the dashboard analytics. I had the issue where the dashboard and the analytics page were separate when it could be in one single page, and also there was the interactive elements that were missing on this specific page. Ended up redesigning it to have these sections, the total thought, this week's activity, voice recording count, total messages. These are all the different things that I wanted inside the dashboard analytics. I may add some further features later. However, this is just the basis of the app for now. I also added a horizontal bar chart for weekly activities that would display thoughts and messages per day. And everything in the analytics page is live updated, so any changes that are made or any sort of thoughts that you do add towards the application will be updated in the analytics in real time. Once I ended up fixing all the UI, I decided to move on to app integrations. However, when trying to integrate into an app, there was a lot of errors that I went through. I went through a series of loops and a series of errors that was I can't lie, it did put me off for a while, and I kept on coming back to the work because it was doing my head in. When making an app that is available on desktop and mobile configurations and mobile apps, there is a few issues, a few design issues that you may overlook that you think that may be done automatically. For me, there was a few things that was wrong with like the tapping and the grouping, and a lot of like tags and tabs would all be mixed up, and there's still a few small improvements that I could make for the app configuration. However, I am quite happy with what I have already, and there is like some extra configurations that you want to make when it's for app specifically. For example, you want to make it feel native by adding things like long press to record or swipe to edit, or if you want to add a feature like a shake feature, you can. When using AI, you can make it feel as native as possible. Don't think just because you can't code, you won't be able to make it feel like an app is actually an app. When in reality, all you have to do is know how to prompt the work properly. And a lot of the common errors that I did end up going through, specifically when making it with the actual app, there was the mic kept on throwing an audio context error. The edit and the mic buttons overlapped, so I had to fix that. Even small things, even small bugs that you wouldn't even take into account. You want to go through a rigorous testing stage so you don't really miss out on any features that you may have overlooked, especially when using AI, because sometimes AI likes to do like little shortcuts. When doing that may just mess up the entire user experience for everyone using the app. Now that I got all the errors fixed, let's go for a round of testing for how it looks like. I'll show you also how the app is looking on desktop, and we've come a very long way from the initial build, and this concludes day 4 of the build. And what did we end up doing? We ended up making it app native. We ended up fixing the UI. We ended up fixing majority of the bugs. We ended just cleaning up the entire project. And for next week, it should be the final touches. And if I can, I will try to possibly get it on the App Store. And by next week, there is a few goals I want to do. I want to fix the final bugs. I want to get it up on the internet and actually on the web and usable for everybody, as well as possibly open a waiting list. I want to open a waiting list for the apps just for the final touches, so everybody can give it a little test run. Thank you very much for watching. This is Naunas.